time.
I think we are time. You ready? Very good. Good evening, everyone. This is the special council meeting for the City of Crescent Springs, Wednesday, October 20th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Brian Barclay. J.B. Smith. Here. Mark Wertenberger.
Here.
Bill Schultz.
Here.
Carol McGowan.
Here.
John Kiley.
Here.
Thank you very much. So the purpose for the meeting is to have discussions about the playground. As we discussed a month or so ago, council had agreed to saying, yes, it is our intent to move forward with this. That was when we were planning on having good news on a grant. We've unfortunately been given news that they selected 30 people to make presentations. We weren't on that list for that, and that we are basically not getting the grant. Is it in writing? Is it finalized? No. But the indication that we have from the state is that we will not be receiving the grant. In speaking to Miracle of Kentucky and Tennessee, they are still willing to hold the price if we make a commitment. As I stated in the last meeting, I did not feel comfortable making a commitment if the grant fell through without coming back to council. So here I am. There has already been a 5% increase, so we're already at this point, you know, if we don't move forward with this, $25,000 more for the same project, if not others for different things. So our money that, you know, from our taxpayers can buy more today than it can next year. Significantly more, in my opinion. That's the reason that I feel it's important to have this discussion now, to give me permission to say, yes, we can go forward with the playground. We have, we're only, what, I think 5 months into the year, Mark, as far as 5 months into the year. Revenues are coming in a little bit higher than expected at this point. Expenses are a little bit lower. We feel fairly safe in saying that that's going to lead to, if I remember the number correctly, about $130,000 of the $250 that we need. Being conservative. There's also some grants that we can apply to, which we plan to, but the crux of the matter is doing the right thing for our taxpayers with their money and getting the right bang for our buck and moving forward with this. Instead of waiting until next year or whenever and having to do a smaller park. I mean, we're already cutting the size down of what our current footprint is. And that, so, you know, I guess we could always cut it down more. You know, we had great involvement from Don and Carol on the committee. We've had a mothers group come in and help us. We've made multiple presentations to council. So that's my 2 cents worth. Now it's up to you all to have any discussion that you would like. And then we have a resolution to maybe consider.
Have a discussion. So
Okay.
I wanted to, for the record.
Okay?
And I did hand this out to our staff, and everybody should be much aware of what my post is going to be about. May I continue?
Sure.
Thank you. Open the Records Act and Open Meetings Act, your right to know. The acts of Kentucky offer Kentuckians essential access to their government and promote transparency between the government and the citizens it serves. The relationship is necessary for the continued success of our democracy, and that is a quote by Daniel Cameron, our Attorney General. OpenTheBooks.com, every dime online, real time. Open government provides communication, transparency, accountability, and oversight for the people. Transparency is the foundation of a smart government because it answers the question, how much does your government cost? As an elected official, we have taken the oath and accepted to act in the best interest of our citizens in all matters. We have sworn and accepted the role of fiduciary of our citizens' hard-earned tax dollars. As a fiduciary, it is our responsibility and duty to act in the best interest of our citizens. This is known as a prudent person standard of no conflict of interest. It is my concern that Crescent Springs has a proposal to embark on an expenditure of $500,000 refurbishing the playground in our park, known as Lou Hartfield Memorial Park. $500,000 for refurbishing the playground is concerning. Requesting a breakdown of line item costs is to address transparency, accountability, and understanding expenditures for the renovation. What is the financial playground profit? $4 for Miracle Recreation. And what is the profit for John Wagner, Miracle Recreation representative? And my understanding that this is a local business, a private business of 20 years. It's a family business. And as we look ahead, our plans for the new Crescent Springs Villa Hills Fire Department, known as the Crescent Springs Villa Hills Fire Authority, CVFA. The new CVFA will include hiring 4 full-time medics to staff an ambulance and 4 full-time firefighters, enough to staff for an fire engine at all times. The staffing of full-time paramedics and firefighters will require the cities to provide full-time employment benefits for paramedics and firefighters. These new financial costs are of utmost importance to our communities. The financial responsibility will provide health care, pensions, salaries competitive with other cities. The financial costs will increase as we proceed with the CVFA. My take, please consider this. Do we want the best firehouse and safety and security when our citizens dial that 911 number? Or do we want the best playground in the county? The choice be yours. Janique Bell-Smith, Chair, Crescent Springs Council, Communication and Transparency Committee. I thank you. For the record, please.
So one, their profit is not our concern. We don't ask what their profit is when we pave the streets. We don't ask what profit is, it's a free market economy. So we looked at 3 vendors. We got the best bang for our buck, the best layout for our dollar. What their profit is not our concern. It's not our place to ask that. It's a free market economy. 2, the firehouse is really a separate issue, and really shouldn't muddy this issue up, because this is a one-time expenditure to fix an issue within the city, where the fire department and its funding needs is a long-term issue. We have the funds in reserves. It looks like we're not going to need as many as we thought we were. Do I know that? No, because we don't have the year-end financials yet. But those are my answers to that item.
Mayor, you pick. All right. May I ask a few questions to try to steer the conversation and get some conversation going, if you will? What research, since this grant isn't coming through, and that changes the entire conversation, right? 250 with the grant not coming in is a big thing to mess up, or not mess up, but to have fall off of the ledger. Mark and the finance and the mayor alluded to it, is that there's about 130 there available that we weren't counting on between savings and expenditures and revenue coming in. How solid is that number, do you think? Confident? How confident are you?
Well, that includes Bridge in the Future, which I would just say.
That's fair.
Yeah, and one was done by April, so I haven't really scrubbed it or anything. But from my perspective, and I also heard, which I wasn't here last month, remind me the financial statements weren't discussed last month. It's next month.
Correct.
The auditor there said our cash reserves are well high, higher than most, and we have plenty to make in savings. So yes, the extra $250,000 expense would be the maximum because of all the nice things between the two. The plan B grants, as I'll call them, the $75,000 one, the $25,000 ADA. That's $100,000 plus maybe the 130. I'll just say, because yes, there is some ambiguity. Could be higher, could be lower.
Sure.
Who knows?
That's fair.
So max is 250. Financial perspective, you can afford the extra 250. It makes sense. It's one of our loan assets that we have in the community, and it's everybody kind of looks forward.
So two questions spurring off of that. When you say loan asset, what do you mean by that?
Well, what other assets do
You
we
mean
have?
LONE.
Oh, loan.
Sold.
I thought you meant LOAN.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
Okay, that's why I was confused. Okay, cool. Darn homonyms. And then, so 130 plus a potential another 100.
Two separate grants.
Two separate grants,
So
75,
two
25.
separate custom marks.
Yeah. So,
And we probably can only get one of them, because
No, I think they're,
you can do the,
yes,
and those grants, if I'm correct, those grants require a pre-commitment to the project because they're reimbursement grants, not funding grants.
Yes.
Okay, so 130 plus 100, if my Sycamore math is right, on the Happy Path, it's $20,000 more than we would have laid out had we gotten the grant in it now.
Well, and then you throw in what's the previous estimation?
15,000?
So 15,000 off
So
that.
$5,000. Okay, so not, the grant might be a sore subject because, you know, it's on as a line item that we were gonna get it as revenue. What is our level of confidence there, that these grants will come through? I know that the gentleman said that he would help write these two
Correct.
grants and that he has a high success rate.
Correct.
Wondering what our level of confidence in those grants actually is with what just got pulled out from under.
I'm not a grant reviewer, so I would think that as I thought that our level of confidence was good on the other grant, I would say, especially with someone who we're going to be mimicking the grants that were successful, I think that my level of success rate would be high. But
And these grants, the land use grant has obviously a lot different criteria than the rubber grant, which is specific to the flooring that we're
Correct.
putting in, and the ADA is 25, right? 25 grand. And the rubber mat and the ADA kind of go hand in hand with each other because you can't have wood mulch. Right?
Correct.
It just doesn't work. So if we get one, we'll probably get one. Okay. More side of the table math was, we're at $51.16 per square foot based upon the 496. There's been recent parks put in, you mentioned one out in Campbell County, there's other ones that have gone in recently. Do we have any idea of what their price per square foot has been?
Did you figure it out?
yeah, it's about the same.
No, it's $74.
$74 for
Yeah,
one grant center?
$200,000 divided by their 2,700 square feet.
Right.
My $4,000 desk was $51.55.
Right, so 191,000 square feet, multiplying both by 3.
What did you multiply?
Multiply 191,000 times 3 is about, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it's 40% more that they pay
Right.
for price per square inch.
Right.
Well, it's over 40%. I'm just using 40% because I know it's over.
And do we have any others like that we could compare against? I mean, they may have just,
The city of Cold Spring is in the process of getting a park as well, with their municipal building. That park is 4,100 square feet. The cost is $604,000,
I mean, okay,
which is $147.32 per square foot.
that's ridiculous.
Fort Thomas is $283 per square foot.
So the only thing that I could think there is looking at the layout, ours is pretty spread out. In fact, there's a lot of open space. It just seems that a point of consideration is that 51 a square foot seems to be coming in much more competitively than it read originally. So just a thought on that, and I'll defer for a little bit while the conversation
I
goes.
think that was a goal from the beginning, was to impact it as well.
Yeah, and I mean the diagrams of the park, I mean, they look great. They do. I have no qualms about the design. I just think that when you read against, what did you say, $64 a square foot?
No, 70.
74, sorry. 74 versus 51. I mean, and the park that's out there in Campbell County isn't a destination playground, right? It's an athletic compound with, well, if you go to the website, it's like six soccer fields, like 4 baseball fields, and all this other stuff. It's a playground for siblings while their siblings play sports. That's a destination. That address right there is a destination where families and kids will go and utilize it for what it is. There's one soccer field, one basketball court. So
In the Campbell County example, that's a county level. We are a city level. We have one park. Campbell County has
Correct.
over 5 playground equipment locations.
Yep.
And with the article you sent out, Bill, the year prior, they made the same purchase for new equipment, which obviously if you start adding all that up math-wise, starts adding up into kind of the area where we're heading to. And they're not done in Campbell County. They're going to continue to go around Campbell County and update their playgrounds.
I mean, for me, when you lower it down, I think 5116 per square foot is pretty damn competitive. When you
I
really,
think we would agree with that. I
Yeah.
think it's the funding where we're at.
Yeah, but it won't.
I personally, I'm for the park. For the renovation, I was on the committee. This feels like a very rushed decision. I think we need more time to make this decision. I think we need to look at other options, whether it's donations, other grants. This just feels very rushed.
and what's the penalty of a non-decision tonight? Is it 10% or 5%?
It's currently at 5, but they're saying as much as 15.
So
He walks after tonight.
$25,000 to $75,000
Yeah.
cash on.
So,
Director Miller, how much came off discount-wise?
The discount is
Miracle.
Discount of
I don't think that
75,000.
really gets mentioned much.
75,900.
Yeah, it's on, there's a line item, it's not broken down by each swing or each slide, but on top of your packet labeled Exhibit A, there is a breakdown of benches and freight and installation and the rubber and the playground equipment itself.
so was the original agreement to hold the price till the end of February?
Yeah.
I thought that was mentioned.
For the last meeting, it was to the middle
So I have some questions. So, if memory serves in the beginning of this, but did we do like a formal RFP or no? We didn't have to because there were, it's like state-approved vendors or something?
State-approved vendors, we brought in 3 vendors,
Okay,
review their designs, and
right. And do we know that, and if anybody has a handy, it'd be helpful, and if it was already shared, I apologize, each of the 3 bids, what the totals were for each of the 3? Thank you.
So the EWA was 670,000, and Bluegrass was over 600,000.
For comparable footprints, like 9,700 square feet,
So
or bigger or smaller, or
it's actually, they're both smaller.
both smaller than what we
Yes.
have today, than what we have on the table today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe
No, that's
I'd
fair.
have to go
We
back.
hinted to them that we were working within the 500K range. Obviously,
So I think the other thing to consider is, if we're gonna consider spending 500,000, where is the money gonna come from to do the rest of the park, like ball area, tennis courts, basketballs? No, it's a valid point.
No, but I'm saying that, but we're not committed to that at all.
I know that, but we were before. Yes, we were.
we were not committed, we were committed to
We were
looking at,
discussing
to
what we
discussing
do.
it, but we were
That
not
area
committed
is
to
gonna
it.
remain open.
Yeah, I know that.
So we spent 500K.
Yeah. But we technically don't have to do anything, right? Like, we're not.
No, I think, Don, keep me honest, I think what he's getting at is that if we spend 250,000 out of the coffers to backfill what the grant would have, how does that delay the rest of the ideas that were discussed of filling in that blank space? Because now we're 250,000 lower in what we have.
I think that gets in, and I think you bring up a great point, I think it gets into the strategic planning of this group, of this legislative body. In 2024, we chat and talk about these ideas of what we want to do with, planning for 2024. What do we want to accomplish? And I tell you, April and I and Director Miller sat in on the presentations with the grant, obviously, because we didn't make the cut. But pickleball courts, there were a few presentations on it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're gonna get it, but it does mean we could maybe potentially put in for it. And everybody should know, we've put in for this grant before, we have received it for certain things within our park here. And we have been successful at times. Obviously, this time, I think there was well over like 70-something applicants that put in, and they only took 30 on to the presentation point.
And I think to your point, Don, it doesn't necessarily move it away. It just, because we,
No, I know,
had,
but
because we
that's
had
more-
nothing planned, we just have to figure out.
That's more funding we're gonna have to come up with, though. That's, I guess that's the point I'm getting.
And it was always going to be more funding we had to come up with.
It was, but if we had the extra $250K to be able to allocate towards that, it's right off.
Yeah, I get what you're
That's
saying.
why, I'm against spending $500K on the, some of the feedback that I've received from some of the residents have been, well, what kind of facelift is the park getting? I've explained that it's more or less just to the playground area, so it's, I guess something nobody needs to understand. So,
And from a community feedback thing, I posted the agenda here in 2 large Facebook groups, Crossings and Reserve Meadowood or Reserve at Meadowood. And, just passing along the information. And some of the feedback, concerned about the cost, and they're concerned about recouping the extra $250 that was going out. And then obvious, general support for it and one comment was that it is something that everybody has used, will use, everybody's tax. It hits everybody from low to high. I mean, it's something that the community will use, everybody will use, not for one group or another group. And that the ADA piece of it was really important. So, that was just some of the feedback that was received.
Yeah, I'll just share one thought. I think one of the problems with, going to vendors is saying, hey, look, we're trying to stay around $500,000. Obviously, none of them are going to come in and say, okay, here's my bid for $350. And, at first, when this was presented with the potential 50% matching grant up to $500,000, I think the idea, everybody was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Maximize the amount of the grant we can get. Now that grant's off the table, I don't think we necessarily need to have the vendors thinking $500,000 is our number. Of course, based on the 3 bids we've received, the answer is, look, to fill up this much space that we're trying to fill up, $500,000 or $600,000 is the answer. But I would be very curious to hear from more than 3 vendors, potentially even do a formal RFP, depending what the resources are for that, rather than, as Councilman Kiley alluded to, voting on this so quickly tonight.
I have 2 points. I
Okay?
don't want to interrupt somebody. Are you finished, Bill?
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
In the past, it's been brought up from council that we collect taxes and we shouldn't just be saving the money. So based on what we have on the reserves, and it's been mentioned that maybe we have too much in the reserves, this is a good way to use the tax dollars where everybody in the community could use it if wanted. There's a community within our city that has 234 residents. They get no PW help, no snow clearance, no road fixes, no road coverings, etc. This park would be one way for those 234 residents to get some of the tax dollars back that they are paid without receiving anything in road repairs, poles, snow removal, etc. Clearly, I'm for it.
Yes, I had public comment.
It's not, are we allowed public comment if it's not on the agenda?
I don't think so. Sorry. I appreciate the desire, but
I would seek more quotes, though.
Agree.
the state statute's pretty strict.
Well, if there's going to be no public comment, I'll say all of the feedback that I've received privately has been that voting in favor of this tonight would be rushing it.
I would have to agree.
I don't know, 2 months.
So what?
I'm just saying, we brought it up 2 months ago, I don't know how that.
Well, 2 months ago,
2 months ago, we thought we were getting a grant.
No, but I'm saying, we talked about it, we did, we had to be like this. That's it.
see if they're interested in contributing or donors from the community. I mean,
They have to impose a roof tax.
but you gotta ask the question. You can't just say, no, they can't.
Actually, for what it's worth, I had a Hill Hills council member unprovoked say to me about Hill Hills, we screwed up when it came to the park, we should have contributed, which I didn't even think we were bringing up tonight, but that happened a few weeks ago, before this whole grant thing, for what it's worth. Not that they have the money, like you said.
Any other comments?
I think we need to continue to look at all options. I really do. I think to move forward with this tonight is just unreasonable.
Jimmy?
Yeah, there's a lot of new information that I've not been privy to. I've not been involved in committees. I am on Public Works Committee. I'm a teacher of 30 years. I know a lot about children. I know a lot about playgrounds. And there's additional grants that we can provide. That's a great idea. My contention is that let's stick with the $250,000, do as much as we can, furbish up the playground, make sure that it's good to go, and then go on and get some more grants and get more funding until we have a more budgetary, which we can include to do a $500,000 renovation of the playground. When I have to look forward to the new firehouse, which I attended several meetings there, and all the new equipment that's going to be in there, it's going to be neat. We need a new ambulance. Maybe some of you probably know more about that than I. Fire truck maybe.
It's not germane to the conversation.
Well, yeah, that might not be germane, but it does reflect back on our budget, my contention there. And I think it will steadily increase. That is my guess in the wind. Could be wrong, but the way things are going into the inflation in our country. So my take is, let's stay with the 250. We lost the grant. Let's write another grant. When you do write another grant, I would like to look over the grant. Not that I'm allowed to write it until I've been told. But I've written grants before, and I have received grants before. And I have some knowledge and wherewithal as to what needs to be done. And I would have liked to have been included in your meetings.
Not sure what meetings you weren't included in,
Well,
but
I don't know, whatever where we came up with these recreation, the renovation, the entire renovation.
there was a committee of council that was set up.
Well, there was some people that didn't, I'm not sure what meetings you had, but obviously there was some information that I wasn't aware of.
They've made presentations here
I
for
saw
what the plan,
Mr. Miracle here.
for what the plan was. I don't think there was any meetings held that you weren't aware of. We had a committee with
Well, maybe
Don and Carol that,
Maybe a work study group of Nate might be the correct name for it. Were there some?
not that I know of, just the the council committee that worked with the three companies to get the prices.
I would have liked to have been part of working with the three companies to see where we were going. But I like the idea that we might have looked at some other purveyors and see what their costs are.
We made the council committee in an open council meeting, and, it was not said anything that you want to be on it till now, so I can't go back and correct that.
I understand.
Okay.
That's fine.
Any other comments?
Mark? Oh, go ahead, Donnie. Go ahead, Donnie.
No, I was just gonna say, I think we're all in favor of the park renovation. The way that we're going about this seems, again, just very rushed. I don't think we've explored all options. I think we all are in agreement that we do need to do some renovations. Equipment's falling apart. We need this tonight.
Director Miller, what's the, currently what we're doing is as things break or become unsafe to get. You've seen it, you've watched things get pulled out, you've inspected things that have stayed, the current state of the equipment from a safety standpoint, let alone a usability standpoint. What's the lifespan that's left of what we have up there?
My opinion is there's no job come out. As soon as we make a decision, it should probably come out.
So
There's no
saying-
more fixing
So-
what we have.
So to clarify what you just said, and I want to make sure that I'm clear and everybody's clear. If we vote yes today, it's winter time, you will move forward with pulling the equipment out.
Yes, sir.
How would you feel in a safety standpoint if we don't move forward and there isn't park? come spring next year, is their equipment standing in that park opening day next?
That would depend on the mayor. I mean,
Depends on the weather, how the winter treats it. I can't,
Well, no, to be,
There was an inspector that came in and rated it as a failure. So if I
of
don't know if
everything that is in there
Yes.
today.
When was that?
Yeah, do we have that report?
Your paperwork has been in front of you through Director Miller.
I don't remember seeing a failed report. And that's why I'm asking the question, because I wasn't aware of what the lifespan was. I understand that there's, you know, this looks like it's poking and prodding, but I'm trying to get up to speed. So I appreciate the latitude. So there's a report that says the current safety of our equipment today is failed. So then, I mean, then it's on us to pull it out, or if somebody gets hurt, then we're at a negligent level, wouldn't we be, Mr. Baker? Or at least open to that conversation of negligence.
Notice.
Probably not.
Just put it that way.
We're on notice.
Or something we should.
Yeah, but I mean, a kid could get hurt in any part.
Right,
so
but
it's-
if, no, yeah, a kid could fall off, I get that, but if it's due to mechanical failure, that's, the lawyer just said we're on notice.
But when was, even if I've already received it, and I apologize for
Right.
remembering, when was this deemed a failure?
You have to ask Director Miller.
wasn't it in the, it was in the spring, I believe?
Yeah, it's, I don't know the date.
What Director Miller has done.
January of 21.
Oh, that, I mean,
January 21?
That's what
respectfully,
she has at the top of the paper. That could be wrong, so I'll have to go back to her
So
email.
things that were completely, that needed to be removed, that has started.
Sorry, yes.
Obviously, some things that have been left are things that probably are there for now, but eventually they will have to be removed.
and I guess what I'm asking is what the actual projected lifespan of that is, given what has been inspected previously. Is it 6 months? Does it need to go now? Is it a year? Barring any extraordinary circumstances.
I think we're heading in a direction where ultimately this group needs to decide whether tonight or in the future, some type of upgrade that needs to take place to the playground.
That's not what the question is.
No, I think your question is,
We all agree that we need to make a decision, whether that's tonight or in 2 months or in 6 months. Fully supportive of that. My question is direct. The remaining standing equipment, what is the projected lifespan that is remaining on that equipment? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it nobody knows, but it's safe for right now? That is the direct question. What is the lifespan of what we have today?
I think the answer is within the next year.
Respectfully,
And the point.
respectfully, I'm not asking for assumptions. I'm asking for if we have a report that says that structure that's there has 6 months left.
I don't think they do.
Thank you. That's the most direct answer. If we don't have that, but the trend is that everything's failing, I can accept that, but that's fine. I was trying to see if that report said something else, like, you know, you have to pull this today, you've got 6 months, got a year on that. If rust develops on this, get it out now, those types of if-then scenarios.
And this is probably a question best for Director Miller. So there's two like separate play sets in the park now. Do you happen to know if one of them is in better shape than the other?
They're both in,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask is because I understand the new park will only take up one of the areas anyways. Or
It wouldn't be segregated by age, right?
right, I just mean to say, like, let's say one of them totally failed. The other one didn't. In theory, the footprint of that now half of our current playground versus what this renovation would be would not be that different. Just from the standpoint of our residents being, now obviously the quality of the equipment and all the facility stuff, of course, is the quality higher. From a physical footprint standpoint, it's all that's asking. If they're in the same shape, then, yeah.
they were put in the same time, so
Right.
that's when it's about the
Okay.
same.
Any other comments from council?
I don't know if this will allow, maybe this is a question towards Mr. Baker. I would like to make a motion to delay this vote further. I just don't ready to make this decision.
Correct.
You read the resolution and then somebody can make a motion to table?
The financial impact of that is 5 to 15.
Correct.
$500,000.
Correct.
Mark, purely gut, I know that you can't answer. Your gut tells you that, based upon the numbers not fully scrubbed, the grants that are out there, and the revenues and expenditure savings, that's 130 plus 100 plus another 15 from a donation. So we're ballparking, say, less than 20,000 capital expenditure outside of what was already in the budget.
All those good things happen.
I mean, to be fair, $20,000 is a whole different conversation than 250. I mean, if we managed to budget well to where expenses are down, and we got a couple windfalls here and there, that some money that we weren't expecting from other areas came in.
That's real quick, April, how much for windows we had in that 130? 130,000, how much were the windows made up of?
25, 30,000.
Okay, so I'll call that real. We're not installing windows, so that'll be a real.
So now we're down to 220. Plus we got something from SD1 that we weren't expecting.
Mhm.
That was 11,000. So that's, we're down
I
to,
mean, there is some of that real. I was just saying from my analyst.
okay.
Max is 250, so just take out the what ifs. Analyze it from 250 perspective, and based on the auditor's report, we have plenty of savings, and when an unexpected one-time expenditure comes up, we look at the savings, we report it. That's for my financial analysis.
Why don't you walk us through that?
There's an estimated $42,000 over for property taxes. 9,000 will come back in from tax refunds due to a change in recording the overpayments. 5,000 is additional liquor licenses. There'll be $10,000 to $20,000 extra in interest due to the interest rates. We've received 11,000 extra due to code enforcement liens because of a new law that passed. We had $11,000 in unplanned sale of equipment. We had $16,000 additional reimbursement from SD1 for the Crawley project. We have an estimated $48,000 coming back for retirement for the police contract.
That totals 130.
That totals 140 to 160,000.
So call it 100. Yeah, so call it, let's just call it let's call it the low end, 140. Plus 30 for the windows you said, so that's 170. 100 in grants, even if we only get the 75, that puts you at 225. Or, no, that puts you at 250. 175 plus 75 is 250. There's a real chance that this is a net zero. I mean, it's measurable and reasonable that it's under 100 grand too, for the grants.
Yeah, I think, I'm on the finance committee as well, and, you know, I'm the one who's brought up the point in the past about, seems like we have a lot of cash. We have more cash, 2022 ought to be more cash, 23 a little bit less, we did in years past, and, yeah, and the auditor said that we're above. So, yeah, I don't think doing this project is gonna set our city into financial ruin. To me, it's just a function of, you know, a $500,000 project makes a ton of sense when you're maximizing a $500,000 grant. I think again, like Councilman Kelly said, I'm not against park renovation, of course. I think if we're not tied to spending, if we're not incentivized to spend $500,000 to maximize the amount of grants, we can evaluate options that are more like $180,000, $300,000, what have you, some lower amounts, rather than voting today.
I mean, so let's just say we do it at 200,000, right? Right, to your point, 200,000 divided by 51.16, if we could even get that rate again, is less than half the size of the park that we have today. If you go by the current rates that other cities are paying, you go down to a 3,000 square foot footprint versus the 9,700 that we have in front of us today. 3,000 square foot one level with kids running around on each other, pretty darn small. And you wanna talk about empty space, you wanna talk about empty space, that's a lot of empty space that we then have to fill. To the mayor's point earlier about it being a one-time expense, I do agree with Mr. Riley that it becomes a two-time expense, right? Like, get it all done in one shot, and then next year you're talking about filling the blank space. But I have to lean on the finances and the numbers from the people that are on the committee. Both of you have said that it's not gonna end in financial ruin. Both of you have said that, you know, it's affordable, and both of you have, Mark has said that, you know, there's other things that are coming into it, and from an analyst perspective, come in well under $100,000 outlay on the budget. So, I think at under 100,000, it's a much. I too do not like the rushed feeling of this, where it's the gun to head or we lose 15%. I don't think $75,000 due to indecision is a fiduciary, or is in the best interest of the city or its residents. So I'm really conflicted on this one.
I mean, are you confident, and this is a question for everybody, that there's not a vendor out there that would do this for 400,000
The exact same project?
or something similar?
Yes, I am, based upon, especially with all the other folks that she was able to get to today. And we used to that quick one from Campbell County last night.
Yeah.
None of them were coming in, and how many were in their presentation of the ones they selected? What were they?
So we mirrored a lot of what was in the presentations with 500K and some of them even above. Obviously, Miracle and Josh have come to us very well respected, other city managers, other cities, because Miracle has worked with other cities.
I mean, he's given us the free labor, basically. If you look at the guidelines, basically the discount miraculously close to the inflation. How somebody, unless they really want to donate the equipment, you can donate your employee time, do that. But how do you donate the equipment unless you take the hit? Like, if you got to either A, convince the other company to do it, or B, you sell it cheaper.
Yeah, no, I mean, all I'm alluding to is, in the app, like, not doing an RFP made sense before, where there was a deadline to get applied for this grant, we had to do the kind of thing. But now that we're not on a deadline related to this grant, I don't see the reason against doing an RFP.
If we do an RFP, we probably won't get any responses. All the playground companies go through the companies called Sourcewell, and what they are is they've already gone through an RFP process with Sourcewell and other companies that they piggyback off of. So they don't respond to RFPs. They expect the cities to go through an agency like another government agency like Sourcewell and piggyback off that RFP that was already done.
And is an RFP worth it to you for 5 to 15% with no guarantee that you're going to see a 5 to 15% savings on cost? I mean, if we don't,
Short answer is yes for me. I mean, it's not my money.
that's
I'm spending, you know?
that right there is gambling, right?
Well, no, it's not my money I'm spending. I'm going to do every bit of due diligence I can to make sure it's the lowest possible cost. I mean, whether it's an RFP, whether it's reach out to 15 more vendors, you know, it's not my money. And I understand that there's a risk with waiting and the discount can be reduced or eliminated,
But then the flip side of your scenario, what if it costs $600,000 actually?
We did all right, why do we have to agree with 600,000?
I think what Mark is saying is if you compare apples to apples and this exact thing comes back $100,000.
I'm not disagreeing with the price, I'm not saying the price is the problem, I'm saying us funding it 100% is the problem.
right.
If the grants come in, the other two, then it would be 80%.
And the crux of that is you have to do it first, you can't just, I know.
That's
I'm just-
fine, but
I'm just
we can
saying-
scale back, we can do other things, we can change it, we're not locked into a $500,000 budget.
Any other comments from council? Mr. Baker, if you'll read the resolution, please.
Thank you. Resolution number 2023-8, a resolution of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement for the purchase of playground equipment for the Lou Hartfield Memorial Park. Whereas the City Council of the City of Crescent Springs adopted ordinance 2023-8, which included the sum of up to $500,000 for the purchase of new playground equipment for the Lou Hartfield Memorial Park. And whereas the City Council of the City of Crescent Springs authorized the mayor in Municipal Order 2023-17 to enter into an agreement with Miracle, Kentucky and Tennessee to acquire new playground equipment at a price not to exceed the sum of $500,000. And whereas the mayor established playground committee for the purpose of researching the feasibility of designing and financing the construction of a newly renovated children's playground at Lou Hartfield Memorial Park. And whereas the Playground Committee has identified certain playground equipment manufactured by the Miracle Kentucky and Tennessee Company and listed on Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, the equipment as the specific equipment it recommends the city to purchase for the Lou Hartfield Memorial Park playground renovations. And whereas the purchase of the playground equipment is both desirable and needed, as the playground equipment currently located in the Lou Hartfield Memorial Park is obsolete, breaking down, and capable of being affordably repaired. Now therefore be it further resolved that the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, through City Council and the Mayor, authorize the Mayor to proceed with the purchase of the playground equipment at a price not to exceed the sum of $500,000 stated in the current operating budget.
Are there any motions?
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-8.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any additional discussion?
I just have one question. How's the draw work for this gentleman? And the reason that I ask is the longer that we can delay the draw, there's more interest that can be accrued from the various accounts. That
We're not paying for it today. We're simply,
I understand. I'm just asking what the draw, if we could extend that out to where we pay as much as we can at the end to accrue interest along the way.
if I remember his presentation, he said that's the way that it kind of works, yes. Once we pay for the equipment, it's ours, and then he starts to work on the installation schedule. So we still set the date and that for moving forward with
So
that.
316 goes out as soon as we agree to it, so we can buy the equipment, and the rest is up.
316 will go out when we say we're ready to move forward. The agreement to sign that I'm requesting we do tonight is so I can say, yes, we're gonna buy it. He's gonna purchase the equipment and basically hold it for us at no extra cost. And then we say, we 100% didn't get the grant. We can go ahead and say, here's the check for 316, you can move forward.
So
When
316.
you're ready to install.
Right.
So 316, when we're ready to install, some March, April, and then
The rest after, yeah.
upon completion,
Correct.
60 days later. Okay.
I noticed in whereas the mayor established the playground committee. Who's on the playground committee, sir?
Don Kiley and Carol McGowan.
But I should have been on that committee. I'm on Public Works.
As I said earlier, Councilperson Smith, it was done in a council meeting. You could have spoken up then. I can't go back and change what was done months ago.
That is correct.
So,
But it would have been if we had a working committee group to come in and do a little more research and investigation. I think we would have felt much better about spending $500,000 to renovate playground. And then after I've seen all these different issues and areas that we can look about, I am more resolved to be very concerned about spending $500,000 for a playground.
I have a question for Mr. Baker. Would now be an appropriate time to make a motion to table this vote? Okay.
There's already a motion, though.
Please.
But they have to,
There's
there's
a
a
motion.
motion and a second on the table, like the call roll.
I think
Even
Either
though
way,
they,
if we vote, it's either approved or it's denied. It won't.
So, not anything about anything, but there's a motion and a second, so that process has already started. Can you interrupt it, can you interrupt, geez. Can you interrupt a current motion with another motion?
You can, motion to table is not a, I'll use the term substantive motion, procedural motion. Now, I will say that frankly, that's based on my understanding of the Roberts Rules Board.
Mr. Baker,
And
would
when
you
I say
speak
it's
up?
order, it would have to come before the vote.
And so how are so if that goes 3-3, is the mayor the
Breaks the tie.
breaks tie? Okay, I'm just, since it's not substantive, I didn't know.
Mr. Baker, would you please repeat what you just said, because I was unable to hear?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A motion to table the motion that is on the floor is a procedural motion. It is not a motion on the merits of the motion. So it's not a new motion. The motion on the floor would normally, April's correct, the motion on the floor, once it's been first and second, it would normally then require a vote. But a motion to table, which is to take it off of the floor, is a procedural motion, and that would be in order, in my view.
We can do that this
You
evening?
can make the motion. I'm not saying how it passes or fails.
I understand,
You
but
can
it's
make the
possible.
motion.
But
If you wish.
tabling it doesn't really get back to the company, which we have to do anyway, so
Well, it would get back to the company if it's tabled.
then he's gonna walk away.
He's gonna walk
Okay,
away.
so same as no, all right.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
So tabling is the same as a no, because we can have the conversation again in February.
Yeah, but the price is,
Right.
the deal's still different, that's all I'm
Right,
saying.
it's all the same consequences.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, so you know, the same
All
thing.
this information was based on us getting a grant, so I think that's taken off the table, so I think there's a lot of other discussions that need to happen now internally.
My fear on that, if we're commenting on that, my fear on that is that it's a $25,000 to $75,000 motion.
Yeah, but we're talking $500,000, so.
Half a million.
Well, I mean,
It's a motion to table on the floor, yeah.
Correct.
it's, yeah, it's,
You're discussing a motion that hasn't been made.
If it's in order, Mr. Mayor, I move to table the vote on this resolution until the city council meeting that's scheduled for January 22nd, 2024.
I
Is there a second?
that motion.
Yeah, second. Get it?
Now you can have a discussion and a vote on the motion to table.
I'll speak in favor of the motion. I think we should do some more due diligence. I think a month's a reasonable amount, or a month and 2 days is a reasonable amount of time.
Does it have a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you, Don.
Any other discussion on that?
so what measurable progress is going to be made in the next 33 days on this? That is going to be worth 5 to 15% of the project. And I'm not saying I'm in favor or opposed to a no vote on the park itself, or tabling, yes to tabling this. I just don't see the financial sense in that at this time, given the evidence that we have about the prices from other parks, the price per square foot of what we have, the budgetary things that are positive that we have, and the potential of another $100,000 worth of grants that the company has agreed to partner us with and use their award-winning or grant-winning template that they've had previously, to where the cash outlay or unexpected cash outlay could be $0.
I would say
So sell me on it, tell me why.
contact more vendors and contact the existing 3 vendors and say, we're not going for a $500,000 grant anymore. We would be interested in seeing what sort of lower bids you have, even if it reduces certain functionality or equipment.
And so, Director Miller, to that, when you first approached the 3 companies and said, hey, Crescent Springs is building a park, what was the turnaround time on any quotes to get back?
It was anywhere between, I'd say, 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so At best, we'll get a couple responses before the meeting. At worst, we'll just have wasted time.
I mean,
So-
there has to be, what, a dozen playground vendors?
And they all have to, you said, so they have to go through the portal or whatever you would call it, the government agency, right? The playground broker. if you will.
We purchase through them for procurement. We would purchase based off of companies like Switzerland.
So,
I mean, why can't we reach out to donors or businesses in the community?
why can't we do that if we say yes? How does that stop that conversation?
Well, if we say yes, we're agreeing to pay for it.
But it doesn't mean we can't reach out.
Doesn't mean that we can't go down the street and
But we're
say,
on the hook if we don't get it.
we're on,
Right. So you're risking that.
I think that the more inherent risk is the increased cost. I mean, Councilwoman Smith talked about the inflation and all of those concerns, and we're already seeing that in the bid. If it's not agreed upon tonight, which again, I'm still unsure if I'm a yes or a no. If it's agreed upon tonight, you know, that's an automatic 5 to 10% increase right then and there.
With this one.
No, it's not, there's not an I don't think so. The guy already said that that is the case based upon what he's held.
Well,
The person that's supplying it and buying it has said that it's going to go up by X amount. That he's no longer gonna hold at this level for us because his costs are increasing.
yeah, but that risk applies to this one vendor. There might be other vendors out there.
Sorry, what was it, you said 5 to 15%?
Correct.
What is 5 to 15%? Isn't it just $75,000?
25 to 75,000.
He's just simply saying he's gonna remove the free labor off the table. And when you're calling for your RFPs, you can say, by the way, we also would like not to pay for labor too, please.
Look, I'm not saying we're definitely gonna get more bids, but I can't sit here with confidence and say the lower bids aren't out there.
Trustee Miller, were there other companies you called that did not respond?
No, DWA just took a lot longer than.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
I mean, I think maybe we need more time to think about the layout or just in general what we want to do. I mean, I think this was all based on, we were gonna get this grant, the grant's not happening now, so I don't know, I think a lot's changed, so.
Any other discussion on the table?
Director Miller, real quick, do you have 5116 per square foot is what we're on the table for right now? You and your peers across other cities, counties, Mr. Daly, you sat in the presentations you heard. I mean, how strong is that price per square foot comparatively to the other layouts and things that you've seen and heard? Because to me, when you look at that price per square foot is just 40% of what other people are paying at a minimum. And I think that speaks to how good of a deal we actually have in front of us. And so, I don't know, I'm just wondering comparatively, how competitive is 5116 a square foot?
From what we looked up today, it's very
It's
competitive.
very,
I mean, was there anything even close to it? that you saw?
No.
There was not.
And if we let this bid go by, we're probably in the pool of more of what you've seen, or closer and pulled towards it.
Look, we have 3 bids. I have a hard time believing that we got 3 bids and one of them happens to be the best playground bid that exists. But apparently better than the market, you know. It's $500,000.
The cheapest isn't always the best. The one that was selected was extremely ADA acceptable. It was good for people that were blind. It was good for people that are autistic. I have 10 grandchildren and one of them is autistic. That caught my eye. There's a swing in there for a wheelchair person. It's completely ADA approved, and that doesn't necessarily it's going to be the cheapest because of the quality of it.
Plus, it's all inclusive in the fact that it has no steps at all. And then you can, that's kind of hard to find sometimes when you look around in other areas, within Boone, Kenton, Kansas. So that's that all inclusive kind of.
Does Does that ADA, the extent that, I mean, Carol, thank you for that, that extent of that ADA, making sure that it's 100% ADA, does that help with the other two grants, the 25 and the 75? Like the rubber matting, $75,000 grant, like, does that,
Yes.
that's a factor
Yes.
in the decision making, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, thank you. So it should help with those other two.
It would make no sense to have wood chips with a,
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Any other comments?
I'll just say one thing, I mean, just to give you just the briefest of research, and I know that's in history. Company in Tempe, Arizona, Robertson Recreational Services, they do playgrounds. They're known for the top turf American playground service. So their website says that the aggregate of poured-in-place rubber surfacing is traditionally, poured-in-place rubber surfacing traditionally poured over a layer of compacted aggregate is typically between $3 to $6 per square foot. Looking at the bid that we have in front of us, 165,600 just for the rubber, divided by 9,700 square feet is 17. So it might not be an apples to apples comparison, and similarly, some of the other bids, other cities have looked at, Tower Park, might be apples to apples as well, but you know, look, I'm not an expert, this is something I Googled 5 minutes ago. My thing here is not, no, we're not gonna do the park, no, we're not gonna do rubber. It's, are we prepared tonight to do it? From that quick thing I just found, $17 square foot is more than 3 6. I might be wrong, I'm not saying I'm not, but, I'm just saying more time, is all I ask.
I think, I'll just end with this, I think we need more time, we need to explore more options.
Anything else?
I support more time. I would like to be on the committee and talk to the vendors that were coming in and selling us the playground equipment. Would like to be a part of that meeting.
Well,
I will
depending on
do all
how
my
this goes,
research.
we might be able to accommodate that.
Give me a call and I'll be there.
We'll see.
I mean that.
Roll call vote, please.
Is this for?
This is the table.
Motion to table.
The motion to
Okay,
table.
just wanted to clarify that. Mark Wertenberger,
No.
Bill Schultz,
Yes.
Carol McGowan,
No.
John Kiley,
Yes.
Brian Barclay,
Oh,
motion to table.
He said
Oh, I'm
no.
sorry.
He said no.
I'm sorry, I heard something else.
help.
I thought you
Help
said
is
O. I thought you said O, I'm sorry.
That-
Janine Bell Smith,
Yes.
It's 3 to
3-3
3.
tie.
The mayor makes the vote to break the tie.
I vote no to table.
All right, so procedurally, that takes us back to the motion to approve the resolution, which has a first and a second.
Second.
So we need a roll call vote.
Roll call vote on that, please.
J.B. Smith,
What are we voting on here? To
On the resolution.
On the resolution.
resolution. So I either vote yes or no. My answer is no.
Okay.
Mark Wertenberger,
Yes.
Bill Schultz,
No.
Carol McGowan,
Yes.
Don Kiley,
Oh.
Brian Barclay,
Speak it up. Off it up.
Yes.
We have a 3-3 vote, the mayor breaks the tie.
And I vote yes. Thank you all very much. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Let me say this. This is a contentious vote, you all, so, and you were very, very civil. And that is not something we've seen a whole lot in this society. So I want to thank all